Hello and welcome back. In this three-part tutorial series that I've been doing, the main goal was to connect Ableton Live to TouchDesigner and to achieve some live audio, visual, audio reactive feedback from what is the start of my own personal live set. Now, I want to make this video short and sweet. These topics can go quite deep, and I will cover them in a dissectional piece by piece video as they keep rolling out. But for this one, just to seal up the three-part series, I just wanted to show you what's going on in between the connection with my TouchDesigner and my Ableton. So in the previous video, we had looked at what's going on inside of my Ableton racks in here. And basically what's being sequenced in terms of what MIDI clip is being launched. Inside of my inside of my TouchDesigner, this is the network that I'm working with. And this is our outputs. Now there's quite a lot going on here from the looks of it, but it's really not all that much. In reality, what it is that I have a white noise top in which I have some parameters automated to some of Ableton's live rack and some parameters that are just set to abs time.seconds. That means it's constantly moving. So if I go ahead and click play here, my white noise top is still just playing around with this abs time.seconds Python command. Now, if I go ahead and set this as a division, which to divide you just have to go 0.0 or 0.1, you'll notice the movement is a lot slower. Here my movement is slow, which is fine. Whereas if we were times by 1, times by 10, the movement just gets crazy, right? So part of my video output is just constantly moving to create a sense of motion without having to have a parameter in Ableton always driving the motion behind it. Now, where I wanted to create a synced element in between my Ableton and my visuals was in my harmonic spread. Which if we look here, it kind of creates a fuzzy breakage of the white noise. And also my exponent factor, which this is more to do with my composition. But as soon as because if you look here in my white noise top, I'm essentially just fading it away. Now, what makes it look like that inside of this visual that you're seeing here is how my network is set up with my composition and the effects that I have on there with the feedbacks and whatnot. So, I have here composite input index. Oh yes, actually, so here's another part to this. I have my input index mapped to another Ableton parameter so that it's choosing different parts of the composition based on, let's see here. Based on my scene that I'm launching in Ableton. So if I go ahead and launch this first scene, it sets it to 0. If I go ahead, it changes it to 1, 2. That's so my composition is just changing as I'm launching scenes going down in Ableton. Now, the way to do that is, well, let me get out of here. And actually, you can see this data line right here that's crossing down below everything and going into my composition all the way down. And it's changing according to the Ableton scene that I'm launching up here. So there's ways to take certain parts of your Ableton project and automate them to what you want to do specifically inside of your TouchDesigner network. Now, the way to do that, as we were saying, is inside of our Ableton package. There's all of these already pre-built options. Ableton Song is a big one. It has an overview of everything going on inside of your Ableton project. Ableton MIDI, Ableton Rack, Ableton Mapper. And the way to do this is you can copy one of these tops, or I guess they're chops. You can copy one of these chops and go back out into your network, paste them. I would hit paste here, but this is already built. And the Ableton Rack, for instance, is already built here. Ableton Track as well. So I have this going into select just to make it easier for what I'm pulling out of there. But for instance, Ableton Track is a really good one. It coordinates with one of your Ableton tracks, pretty straightforward. Drum Rack Arranger. Up here we have Drum Rack Arranger. And you can set these to whatever your Ableton project has to offer in terms of what tracks are available. That's my drum rack that I'm using. So inside of my Ableton project, this drum rack is already being recognized by TouchDesigner inside of here. All of these macros are in real time hooked up to my TouchDesigner. And what's great about that is that we can start taking these parameters. Where are we? I work out of the select just to make it easier for myself, like I said. But these parameters, you can just drag and drop. Oh, Jesus. There we go. So for instance, one of the parameters that I used to control that composition choosing is my, where are you? To Ranger, force on cue point, your scene. There we go. Last started scene. So if we look here, this last started scene parameter, I went and I took it to my comp, which will be down here. Last started scene. You can see in here. Oops. And so let's say I wanted to do that all over again, so I can show you the way to do it. I can just click off. Come on. There we go. Oh. Sorry, my mouse is giving me troubles today. Oh, that's plenty. Last started scene. To do this, you have to set your viewer active on. Last started scene. I'll just drag and drop that into my parameter and hit chop reference. Now it's mapped. I've only mapped it inside of my chop up until, sorry, inside of my top up until 2 different compositions, I think it is. Yeah, I only have 2 going in here. A white composition and a black composition, or like black background. And then inside of my white noise, my exponent value is being automated by the output meter, and harmonic spread is being also automated by the output meter. So it just has some kind of audio reactivity, right? So go ahead and launch this scene. Notice how it won't change the composition because I don't have that mapped, but it changes the way that this visual vibrates. Now, you can go all out with this, and literally the possibilities are endless. But if I go here and choose this, my input index, changes depending on what scene I'm on, and that's specific just for when I'm going down my live set, that I'm launching new scenes as I'm bringing in new elements of the Ableton live set. But here you can see that there's already a difference in between what I'm working on. Now if we go back to our noise, hit our exponent, my exponent is being worked on here, whereas if I turn my exponent down, it would be more steady. And you can see kind of the movement happening between these instances of white noise blobs and their audio reactive. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. If you have learned anything or enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.